They want to know that whether or not you are capable to do the role that is advertised for that position. That's what they care about. And now, if you don't have that, and just mention, I have this many citations on some thermonuclear stuff I did, it doesn't mean anything to the recruiter, honestly. So you have to understand that reality. It took some time for me to understand that, because this is the amazing job that I have done, amazing work. I published it. I have over 500 citations and stuff like that. That's amazing for me. That's not going to be amazing for the recruiter or the hiring manager who is, trying to get someone to do that particular X work. Do you know X? That's what they care about.
Welcome to the Astronomers Turned Data Scientists podcast. I am Joseph Ahern, and by the time this episode is released, I will have been a data scientist for 2 years.
Excellent. And I'm Jeff Silverman, and I've been a data scientist still 7 years. I'll have to figure out when I get to plus that number to 8. And our guest today is Riwaj Pokhrel. Welcome, Riwaj.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
Riwaj, you are probably our guest so far that has transitioned to data science most recently.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be interesting to learn about. Before we get into that, can you tell us about your experience in astronomy?
Yeah, definitely. When I look back now in the hindsight, I think it was kind of fate how I got into astronomy. I grew up in a very remote part in Nepal. It's a little Himalayan country, South Asia. And where I grew up, we didn't have like power in a very regular way. Like we had very intermittent power cuts and stuff like that. And where I grew up, it was a very tropical place. It was super hot, like above 115-degree Fahrenheit sometimes. And during nighttime, when it was that hot, we could not sleep inside the houses. Okay, we had to go to the terrace, in a balcony, and sleep outside. It's cool. Like the entire neighborhood, everyone is outside, like figuring out like where's the bed and stuff like that. So it's well, I think about it right now, it was a lot of fun. At that time, it was not fun. And open, like sleeping under the stars outside, and the sky was crystal clear. And I was to think that time, okay, wow, this is so amazing. Like I'm more interested in look there, up there than down here. I wish I could study this. And the thoughts of that nature, I wish I could go there to the stars. I wish I could know how they formed and stuff like that. But I knew my limitations back there. I like, no, it's not possible. Like it's when I grew up, I'll have to be like pretty sure something else. And then as I grew up, I did my schooling was over, and then my high school, undergrad. Now that kind of thought actually just faded away by that time. It was not even there anymore. And I had some other kind of dreams and aspirations. And then I was fortunate during my undergrad, we had a group of very like-minded people, students, everyone, undergrads, who all wanted to do something in the field of astronomy. Now we're talking about Nepal. It's a like, developing country. There's not much resources there, like telescopes and stuff. It's pretty hard. It was hard that time doing astronomy. So, we met some helpful people along the way, formed a group. Soon enough, we had our first ever telescope. We had a 10-inch Dobsonian telescope and some other resources we added on. We made friends along the way. They helped us. And then pretty soon, we were one of the emerging big astronomy group in Nepal. So we used to go carry telescopes on our back and go to the hills and mountains and like gather local people around and, hey, look at the moons of Jupiter or the rings of Saturn, like whatever we could at that time. And then doing like outreach kind of things and education and stuff like that. And that was a lot of fun. And then loved that. And then I was doing a master's in physics at that time. And I said, well, I'm already doing master's in physics. Why not? Let's try astronomy. What happens? Let's see. And again, by fate, I think we had our first ever curriculum on astrophysics from that particular year. And I was right there. And then I took that course, did some research, one of the molecular clouds, and then I applied to the positions here. I was rejected from all the universities And then again, it was fate that one of the university contacted me after like 2 months of the initial rejection, saying like, hey, some guy just rejected an offer and you are on our top shortlisted candidate. Do you want to come? I said, absolutely, I want to come. That was another fate. And then I did my PhD at the University of Massachusetts. Regarding my subject, first I studied galactic astronomy, nearby galaxy and stuff for the first year. And then I switched to star formation in nearby molecular clouds. So I mostly studied stars. I did my dissertation with Rob Gutermuth. And then after that, I applied for a bunch of postdoc positions. Again, I got one offer again, call it fate or something. And then I did that 4 years of postdoc after that. And then I thought, okay, it's time. Astrophysics has been great so far, but now I need to think about something else. And then I made my transition last year. So that's where it all came to be.
Yeah, so I'd love to, I mean, that's an amazing story. It's so awesome. Yeah, definitely want to follow up with some of the what you're doing now to keep that love of the astronomy and the outreach and looking at the sky alive. But before we get there, I really want to dig more into sort of what was the transition like? Sort of, you know, you hinted at your thought process of, okay, I need to think about something else now.
Yeah.
But sort of what led you to that thought process, to that point in time, and how did it go? What resources did you have or wish you had? And sort of, you know, how did that transition go? Because it is different for everybody. It's obviously evolved over the last 7-10 years or so.
Yeah, definitely. When I was doing my PhD, actually, the thought of making this transition that didn't start just last year. It started 6 or 7 years ago. But it was not like an active thought. It was a passive thought back of my mind because I was seeing all these, my seniors, all the graduates, people who have done 7 years of postdoc and stuff, and they are not getting a faculty position. And then I was thinking like, I'll be in that race pretty soon. And what if it doesn't work out? I should have some kind of backup plan. I should actually think about what I will do if it doesn't work out. And another thing was, even if it works out, the thing was, is that what I want to do, even if it works out, okay? Even if I get a position or something. And then I had to think about that. So I was not 100% confident that I will make this transition. But when I was doing my PhD, I got a pre-doctoral fellowship from the Harvard Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics. I was there for 2 years. And there they had a lot of programs like, trainings on programming, visualization trainings with Tableau, machine learning courses, and so on and so forth. So I used to attend those courses. Just in the back of mind, I had like, someday I have to make this transition, perhaps, maybe. So I should be prepared. And even if I don't make this transition, it's always good to learn new software, new processes, new data analysis skills. I could use that in astronomy, and I have used it in astronomy a lot. And then, so I used to attend these courses and then went back to UMass. And then I actually took a formal grad level class on data science in a different department. So that was when I actually started building myself up. Until the time I did my PhD, I wasn't like, I had like, okay, 10%, there's a chance that I will make a transition, 90% I'll stay. And then that was the thought process. So at the end of PhD, I didn't apply to a single industry job. I only applied for postdoctoral positions. And then I went to University of Toledo and then did research for 4 years with Dr. Tom McGath. And then around that time, around like third year or so, I had a family. By that time, I had 3 kids, wife, 3 kids, and doing postdoc and how heavy the workload is during the postdoc. I was barely able to give any time to the kids and to my wife. I was busy writing proposals for observations during the weekend and in the evening hours and everything. And I just felt like I was being too selfish, just thinking about what I wanted to do and not being able to give time to my kids, to my family. And that was very selfish of me. And I decided like, okay, what would be the next move then if I don't do this? Like, what can I do so that I can bridge this gap, let's say, okay? And then before finally making this decision, I actually noted down what are the pros and cons if I stay in academia, what are the pros and cons if I move to industry. I noted down everything. And then my biggest thing was a work-life balance, as I said, because I wasn't able to give time to my family during that time. And the thing is, yeah, nobody was compelling me to write observing proposal during the weekend, right? Nobody said that I have to do it. My advisor didn't say, or anybody didn't say. And everyone was like, you should have a work-life balance. Yes, you should have a work-life balance. But then if I don't write any proposal, I'll be left behind. And when the proposal announcement happens and everyone else gets the time and I don't get any because I didn't write any, and I'll feel like way far behind. My thing was whatever I do, I have to be in the forefront of that field. So I would feel bad either way. Like if I write proposal, I'll feel bad because I'm not giving time to my family. If I don't write it, then I'll feel still bad because others are moving forward and I'm backward and I'll probably not end up in any position anyway. So, and those kind of things, work-life balance was a big thing. Second thing was freedom of location. I wanted to be somewhere, do a work where I could choose my own location where I want to go spend a family, because I didn't want to spend another 20 years in a place where it snows too much, let's say, okay? Because since I came to the US, that has been my experience either in Massachusetts, Toledo. India is a bit better, not a whole lot better. It's a little bit better. But yeah, those kind of things. And for my kids' school, I want to be able to go where they have best schools in the country, best living standards, and so on and so forth. That was the another reason. The third reason was wanted to be financially better also. Until now, until my postdoc, until I was not married, let's say, I just had to think about myself, nobody else. And I didn't need a lot of money. I never had a like big, I never wanted a Ferrari, never wanted a big house, nothing like that. I just wanted to do my research and like, let me live. I want to do my research, leave me alone kind of guy. After family, that all changed, right? Now, I don't think about myself, but I think about my kids. When they grow up, I want to be able to help them in their education in a way I can. Like I want them to be responsible as well. But at the same time, I don't want burden solely on them. I want to be able to do something for them as well. And those were like other kind of aspects. Similarly, there were other, like the case of stability in one region, diverse options, growth opportunities. Where can I have more growth opportunities, whether it's academia or industry? So I did a very thorough comparison of both sectors. And I found a lot of reasons to move to industry. I found one reason to stay in academia. That was my love for the field. That was how much I wanted to do astronomy. And I enjoyed every day, every year I did astronomy. But that was that by that time, it was like, okay, I had a good run. This is it. Now I need to move on to next thing. And I found industry as the next option. And another question was, what do I do in industry? There are so many options. And because I had this kind of the notion back of my head that someday I have to move this, get this transition. My preparation started 6 years ago when I took those classes, machine learning and everything. So what I was doing in those years was, if I do any kind of project in astronomy, I would think about how can I solve this using machine learning, let's say, using data science techniques and so on, so that when it goes to my resume later on, the use of machine learning or data science is going to be very apparent right away, so that the recruiter thinks like he reads and then, or she reads and then like, okay, this guy does not have machine learning experience, like throw it in the trash kind of thing. So I was like, classification of young stars was a big project I did. And then I thought about, okay, how can I do this from astronomy? And then I did a project, showed it to my advisor, he liked it. And then that went into my GitHub. During the interview process, I talked about that project. I said, like, I used classification algorithm, CART, C-A-R-T, to do this classification. And then this was my results and so on and so forth. And they were quite impressed with that. So that was, I was doing, like, think I was doing astronomy, but also at the same time thinking about how can I mix a little bit of data science, a little bit of astronomy and stuff, and make it more interesting. For testing, I used to think about all different kinds of hypothesis testing and stuff, because I knew like A/B testing and stuff is quite big in industries. And then I was like, okay, how can I make this connection now? How could I do this? So although it's not exactly one-to-one, it gives, during interviews and we're talking with hiring managers, it gives them an idea that, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. He has the basics and fundamentals covers. Finally, last year, 2023, from the day I started actively applying, like remade the resume and started applying and talking with recruiters until I got the job, it was about 2 months. And that's shorter time compared to other people who I know are applying since the time that I was applying last year. They are still applying and haven't landed. And it's not because I got lucky or anything. It's because my preparation started 6 years ago. I was just not doing it very, very actively. I was doing it in my like, no, recess time or like that. So anyway, yeah, so that's how I ended up here. I got this position. I did a little bit of research of the company, a mid-sized company growing very rapidly. There's a lot of growth opportunities, everything. I always wanted to come in a mid-sized company rather than like too big or just a startup company. And then I thought, okay, this is a good fit. Let's go. And I've been very happy here.
In the position you're in now, you started to describe the company you're in. What about the team you're on, or how many data scientists are there, and how much experience do you have compared to other people on your team and so forth?
Yeah, sure. So about the company, it's a third-party logistics company. You know what? Like 2 years ago, when you posted in LinkedIn that you accepted a position in Pakar, and then I talked with my advisor that time, my PhD advisor. I was a postdoc there, but my PhD advisor he's like a friend to me. We always meet even now sometimes. And then I told him, I saw a guy actually went to a trucking company as a data scientist, and he's an astronomer. What can he possibly do there? That's what I asked him. And then he explained all the things that you can do there, from route optimization to supply chain management to all kind of data science projects. And I was blown away. I never thought it that way, right? And then after a year, I accepted a position in a third-party logistics company on the same boat, right? And then I was thinking of that incident before. And then the team here, the company itself was founded in 2009, so it has been 15 years. It's a mid-sized company. We never took any external funding, nothing like that. It's all from the internal resources. So the way it operates on a very basic level is, so they are customers. So our customers, we have over 100,000 customers, and they can be retail business owners, individuals, Walmart, Kroger, you name it, all them. Now they need to ship their goods from point A to point B. And let's say if they don't have resources, because it's a very time-consuming process, you have to figure out how to ship, where to ship, and logistics takes a lot of thought process. Then they contact us, and then we outsource. So we have our network of trucking companies, over 1,000 truckers, and then we find the trucker, the carrier, we call them carriers, that are best suited for that particular shipment. And then they actually pick up the load and deliver. So we are kind of a middleman, and between how much we charge the customers and how much we give the carriers, we make our margin in between. And that's how the entire company runs. And that's how it has become a $1 billion company now in just like 15 years. So the data team is, when I was accepted, we were 6 actually. And now we are almost 10, and it has been like 9 months only. So we just hired data analyst, junior data scientist. We have interns, and then 2 full-time data scientists, me, and we have a lead data scientist, Trevor. And then we have 2 full-time data engineers who are also working full-time here. So it's not like one of the super big data company in a giant company, but it's very rapidly growing. And now we have offices in 6 cities throughout the US. And we have started to expand our data team also in these cities. So this fall, I'm moving to our Charlotte office. By the time this podcast is broadcasted, I'll probably in the Charlotte office by that time. And we have other teams in Chicago, Tempe, Arizona, Tampa, Florida, and so on. So it's a very rapidly growing company. And about what we do here, it's being a logistics company. A little bit about what I've been doing here. So my main work is to use data science, machine learning, deep neural networks, reinforcement learning, you name it, all kind of techniques to figure out the most effective way to ship the goods from point A to point B and making a reasonable margin in between. So one of the biggest projects that I have worked on is making a recommendation system. So when we get a shipment, we have over a lot of carriers, and to figure out which one is the best carrier that matches with that shipment so that the carrier is willing to take the load, we get a reasonable amount of profit, and the customer is happy, everyone is happy, and everything works out. To build that recommendation system, I used a machine learning, deep learning, and so on, and made this system, which has now gone into production. And it's working great compared to the previous quarters and so on. So that's one thing that I have been doing. Another thing is building dynamic pricing models using like LSTM or other kind of projects. And that has been going quite well. Similarly, we do route optimization. So we have a lot of shipments which are the trucks that are not full. It's not a full truck, but we call it LTL. Joseph may know this, like less than truckload shipments. And we have to figure out, okay, how many pickup areas are there, how many deliveries are there, and how do we optimize the entire route so that everything is carried on very optimized cost and optimized route. So it's an operation research kind of problems. So a lot of those kind of problems. I do use natural language processing to figure out like the trucking companies that we have. A lot of them are good. There are a few bad ones we have to weed out. There's a lot of problems in the company, like double brokerage and stuff. And I use these NLP techniques to weed out the carriers that are not performing well, don't have a good history, like theft and stuff are going on. So yeah, so everything that I do right now is something that I gained during my postdoc and PhD years, now that I'm using in the logistics realm so far. One thing I'll say that the reason that it has been only 9 months, but I'm engaged in a lot of projects and having good results and stuff. The reason for that was I had that foundation built during my PhD and postdoc years. And that's the principles of ethics, data ethics, integrity. Those are the things that I carry over from that realm to this realm. And then I think the level of analysis that we do as PhD students in astronomy, I take over all that expertise in here, and it applies very flawlessly in this realm also. So I credit my academic days for that.
Yeah, that's a wide variety of projects, and sounds like some really impactful ones in just 9 months in the role. So that's awesome. Given you've been there for 9 months, you've clearly worked on a bunch of stuff with a variety of folks at the company. I'd love to hear sort of, you definitely, you said you wrote down pros and cons of what you thought it would be to go into industry. How was your accuracy rate? Like, let's talk about, how good was your model, your predictive model of pros and cons in tech? What was, yep, this absolutely confirmed what I thought it would be like, and what was maybe surprising, good or bad?
Yes, I do have a surprising aspect to it. So my null hypothesis, right? All my listed down everything, and then I was like, okay, this is going to be like this. And then something I miss and something I found only after I started working here is it's not exactly the amount of work that I do, because I did a lot of work during my postdoc and PhD years also. But it's something about the entire environment in a corporate environment that's like, no, move on, move on, move on, move on, carry on, move it kind of environment. And when I was in my postdoc years, even if I worked like 10 or 12 hours in a day, when I got home, I never used to feel tired. I never felt fatigued. Perhaps because it was what I wanted to do always, astrophysics, and then I was enjoying work and everything. Not that I'm not enjoying this work. I'm enjoying it more than even I imagined before coming in this field. So I'm enjoying it, but it's something that is so driven here that when I go home at the end of the day, I don't even work as much as I used to work in my postdoc years. I work less now, but by the time I get home, I am super tired. I felt like I don't have any more energy left. And then I do have this time now in the evening and on the weekends. I enjoy with my kids, my wife, we go places and like that. Now I enjoy both Saturday and Sunday as weekends. That's a big improvement. During my postdoc and PhD, I only enjoyed one day off, and another day I always used to work. Okay, I get both days off. During the evenings I feel tired, but then I take my kids to park or play with them, and after like 1 hour or so I'm fully recharged after that. But this, the tiredness that I never felt before, even though I used to work a lot more during my postdoc years, that's something that I feel here. It's probably also because I'm so new to this corporate world that it's taking some time to adjust to it. And I used to work fully remote during my postdoc years. I make my own hours and then like that. We joke in academia, as you know, that in academia, every day is like a weekend, but you work on every weekend. So you are practically working every time in academia, right? And that was fine. And I would have done it if I didn't have other kind of responsibilities and stuff. But then here, I get time off. I do feel fatigue sometimes, but after recharge and everything, I'm quite good. The best thing is after I go home, I don't have to think about work anymore. I'm free to think about whatever I want. And that is a big plus for me that I didn't have during my postdoc years, because that time after I go home, I work again in something else, like a proposal or a grant or a paper, something like that. For personally, for me, it has been very rewarding, both financially also and other aspects also, like work-life balance and other things like that. So to answer your question, I wouldn't say like all the parameters of my model are met here, but I would say a fair fraction of them are met, and I feel quite good about that.
Awesome. So you talked about some of the technical preparations you made during your PhD and postdoc that
Mm,
helped out. And I think you've been hinting at other non-technical aspects as well. But I
mm.
just wanted to see if you had a good sense of summary of the transferable skills that you had from your academic days that have been helping you in your current role.
Yeah, definitely. The biggest one that I was preparing back then was the technical skills. That was I was mostly focused on, because yes, other skills are important, but my thought process was like, if you lack the technical skills, when the recruiter will look at that resume, they don't see, okay, I'm asking for deep learning, this kind of model here. It's not even mentioned in here. Then it doesn't matter down. You say, I'm a great problem solver. I have this creativity. I'm all these kind of soft skills. I'm a people person, so on and so forth. They're going to throw that away. That was my thought process. Okay. I thought, yes, soft skills are important. Yes. But you have to master your technical skills first. You are applying for a job of modeling and your modeling is not strong, or you don't know how to do modeling, then that's like a huge hit right away. So that was the reason I was mostly focused on building technical skills, like data skills mostly. So most other kind of analysis like hypothesis testing, statistics, like noise reduction, signal processing, all these kind of skills I was already learning in PhD when I was at CFA and UMass. I was already doing that. So I was fine with that. I wanted to level up my skill. And that's where I took the machine learning classes, the deep learning, data science. I learned SQL during that time too, because I knew how important SQL is in the industries. So I used to not directly talk with people, but follow people who have made this transition, and then like follow their post, what are they talking about and what skills I need. And if I find any senior at the CFA, I found some people, and then I would ask them and then just take their suggestions. And then I was building that kind of skill back then. During the end years of my postdoc, then I started to focus on other things. And one big obstacle for me personally was coming out of my shell and reaching out to the people, mostly people I don't even know in LinkedIn, for networking, because I talked with so many people by that time who have made this transition, and everybody said one common skill set you must have, or not, I don't think it's skill set, but one thing that you have to do is network to people that will raise your chances of getting hired largely. So, and to network, to reach out to people, to talk with people that I don't even know and ask them like, hey, I am this and that, and do you have any position? Are you willing to give a referral to me? That was very big thing for me. And then being like an introverted person and a little bit also someone who had imposter syndrome since I came to the US, even before that, because I always thought like, I studied and I was raised and I studied in that part of the world, and here people are really smart, and then well, they think I'm smart, but I'm actually not that smart. These people are so great and stuff like that. So, and all those kind of things that was inside me that stopped me from reaching out to the people. They are like, okay, no, yeah, how do I even do this? So I composed a LinkedIn message to send to someone, and then I waited for 2 days the first time. I was like, no. And then I thought, well, if I don't ask, I'm not going to get it anyway. And I don't even know this guy. What if he says no? Like, if he says yes, then awesome. If he says no, then, well, who cares? I'll ask to someone else. And then like it took a while to come out of my shell, and then started to approaching to people. But then after I did that, it was, once I sent that first message, sending second message was a lot easier. I'll tell you that. Yeah. And then third and fourth, and then it just went on and on. I received referrals from the peoples I didn't even expect, because I think I didn't understand this part of the culture in industry, that how common it was to ask for referrals, to reach out to people, to talk with hiring managers and talk with recruiters and so on and so forth. Of course, I got ghosted a lot of time too, but when I compare that with, even if I reach out to 10 people and 2 of them come back to me with a referral and 8 doesn't, that's a win. I have 2 referrals now. So I looked at it that way. And then this job I got without any referral. I was surprised. But the referrals, I didn't actually get any job from the ones that I had referrals, but I got 2 offers at the end, and both of the offers without any referral, I interviewed and then got the offer. And then this job sounded way more interesting to me. When I was interviewing, I could feel that energy with the people who were interviewing me. I could feel that their energy, and I could see that my energy matches with their energy. And I was like, this is going to be a great fit for me if I am accepted there. And then I finally accepted this position. So technical skills, definitely, I was building that. Networking skills, it took a while to come out of my shell and started building that skill, but I did it eventually, reaching out to people and talking with people. Okay. Another third point was, when I was talking with people, I would often go too deep into my work. Like if they tell me to explain something, I would go immediately into, hey, I use the JWST data to study fragmentation of molecular clouds in these young stellar objects, and the protostars are from 0.5 million years ago. And then it's like on and on. Okay. And then I had to learn how to soft on that. Okay. How to talk like that the industry, such that the industry folks would understand what I'm talking about. So for my machine learning project, the classification of YSOs using card-based algorithms, I use decision trees, random forest, and so on. When I first explained that to a recruiter, they didn't get anything because I was just going so deep and talking about all these color plots and everything that doesn't mean anything to them. And by the time I accepted the offer, the way I would phrase that project was, I used machine learning to classify the stars in our galaxy. That's what I would tell them. Now, if they want to go a bit deeper, now they would understand that. That was my main focus, like how to get my point across to them. That was my focus. And then if they want to go deeper, like what kind of stars, how do you do this? What exact model do you use? And then I would explain them further. So how to talk, how to get your project idea, your work across to a recruiter or a hiring manager. That was another skill that I learned. So soft skills, teamwork, working on teams and stuff. Since we have so many collaboration internationally, multicultural, all kind of things. So that came a little bit easy for me in how we work on teams and stuff like that. Other kind of skills like writing skills, we write so many time in academia, and all other kind of skills that were very transferable. Although I'm not doing any writing right now, but there are people I know who are into writing roles, and their habit of writing in the PhD years or postdoc years is directly transferred to they may be in medical writing, they may be in some like publication house or somewhere, and it's directly transferable here. So I feel like it's never a like one shoe fit all condition, but thinking about, I think I was pretty clear what kind of role I wanted. I never wanted a writing role. I was bad at it. And then I knew I wanted something where I could use the technical skills, data science, machine learning, AI, those kind of things in like a technical heavy role. And then that's where I was building my skills during that time. So I think the main thing is figure out where you want to be if you make a transition, and then start building the skills that are required for that particular role.
That was great. Thank you for going through all of those pieces and sharing your, what was, I'm sure, challenging and stressful of coming out of your shell and working on that networking piece, because it is important, even if people think they're not good at it or it's scary. Like it is, for better or worse, very important. And just a quick side note on technical writing and writing. I started my data science career much more on like, yeah, I want to do technical stuff, and I do a lot of technical stuff. As I have leveled up and do more management and stuff, I write a lot. I have written, I've been at my current job now for about 9 months, 10 months, and I've written a lot of documents on processes and what does it mean to measure a metric correctly and defining acronyms and terms. And I haven't quite gotten to the point of using LaTeX to write an equation, but like I came real close a couple times.
Pretty soon,
so,
pretty soon.
yeah. So technical
we
writing
need to
and my
we need to document course, write up. Like I filled up our wiki. We use DevOps here, Azure DevOps, and then I write all my project ideas, everything in wiki, make plots and everything, and put it in wiki and all kind of things. So the skills are always used. If you guys, I don't think you both remember, but when I was in that time of coming out of my shell, I sent my resume to both of you guys. I sent it to, I think, 6 people who moved into astronomy, and you two are the only ones who replied back. So thank you again.
Ooh, I was about to say like, oh man, I hope I didn't ghost you or give you terrible feedback on your resume.
You did, and that built up my confidence again to reach out to other people, because I saw that like how thoughtful your responses were. And then I worked on that, and then that motivated me. I think to Joseph, I sent it like 2 or 3 times, and then I kept on editing and then sending, and then so that was great. So Thank you again.
Excellent. Oh, that's
Yeah,
awesome to hear.
of course.
So I wanted to go back also something you were talking about that really resonated with me, and I think resonates with a lot of people who are both
Mm,
interviewing data scientists and astronomers looking at data science careers, is that communication. And not just, can you speak to other humans? That's a good
yeah.
baseline, but not it's not even going too deep in a conversation. It's going to the right depth, right?
Mm,
Whether it's a technical conversation, something about you're explaining astronomy data sciencey project to a recruiter who may not be very technical. Maybe you're
mm,
giving that same spiel to a hiring manager who is very technical in the data science side but doesn't know what a color plot is for local stellar
yeah.
populations because they don't
Mm,
have an astronomy background, but maybe
yeah.
they do. And you can, I have
Mhm,
definitely interviewed former astronomers and
mhm.
gone way into the weeds of their dissertation project or whatever. And so that kind of skill of explaining things clearly at the right depth, using the right jargon for the right audience,
Mhm,
I see that coming a lot of times from astronomers in their education and public outreach activities. And
mhm,
so to sort of bring it back to something you said early on and that I wanted to get back to was you getting into astronomy started with looking yourself at the sky, finding a group of like-minded individuals,
mhm,
sharing that love with the community who either didn't know as much astronomy or maybe wasn't as interested, but still, you
mhm.
found it engaging. And
Yeah.
so now that you're doing, not doing that full time, not doing that for a career, how do you still find that engaging, or do you find ways to still share that love of astronomy? I know
Yeah.
before we started recording, we were talking a little bit about the total solar eclipse this month, earlier
Yeah.
this year, but what are some ways, if any, that you have that you
Mhm.
still can sort of scratch that itch, let's say?
Yeah. It's funny if I think about it now that I got into astronomy as an amateur astronomer. So with amateur, like it's by hobby because I wanted to see, it was my hobby. And then I loved sharing that the same passion with other people, like-minded or unlike-minded people, everyone. And then I have good stories also when we went to like in a remote part with the telescope and the kids came and then they were so motivated and stuff, but I can say that some next time. And then I started my PhD, right? Until that time, I could tell you if you point me towards any bright star, like what part of the constellation is that particular star, I could tell you. Planets, I would know which planet would rise at what time, what planet would set, everything. If there's any meteor shower, everything. We used to organize these grand programs throughout the night and then invite all the people to watch meteor showers and everything. I used to know when is Perseids, when is another kind of meteor showers and everything, right? After I started my PhD, I spent all of my time staring at my monitor code, and then I stopped looking up. So by the time I was out of my postdoc after 11 years of that, I felt like I know nothing about night sky anymore. I know coding, that's good. But like the entire reason why I got into astronomy was the beauty of night sky, just to feel, just to embrace that, the beauty of the universe. I don't have that anymore now. That's gone somewhere within the process. And I am doing astrophysics, but am I? That kind of like thought that I had when I left. And then after I left, started this job. Now that passion, that activities is coming back now. Now I have a 18-inch Dobsonian at my apartment, and binoculars. It's a really good set of binoculars. I used that to observe a comet last time from Toledo and also here. And then I go out sometimes in the evenings with my two kids. My daughter is 4, my son is 5, and my youngest one is just 1.5 right now, so he does not understand that much. But my son and daughter, they find it fascinating too. So I take them out. My son loves moon, to look at the moon, and then we just enjoy. Just sit outside for like half an hour, just look at through our binocular, just talk. My son is at that age. He's turning 6 pretty soon, and he is very curious about everything. Of course, he's at that age now, has a lot of questions about like anything and everything. He's asking all the time. And I'm having that fun of night sky mixed with like talking with them. It's all coming back now. So I'm enjoying that a lot now. I don't think if I was still doing astronomy, since it's such a, it takes so much of your time and your soul and everything. I don't think I would be having that fun with my kids right now. It would be extremely hard. Now, someone may say that, no, we did it and you just have to manage time and stuff like that. I'm a champion of managing time, and it didn't work out for me during that time. Okay. And now it's working out, and I'm having that fun now. So yeah, it's funny if I look into it, because amateur astronomy, looking at night sky, all these kind of things, that got me into astronomy. But to be able to do that in some way, I also got out of astronomy, out of academia, and I have time, and I am actually doing those kind of stuff. So
Awesome. Did you see the total solar eclipse?
oh, definitely did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I was telling Jeff about it. So our apartment is in the path of totality, was in
Awesome.
the path of totality. So we actually had a friend visiting from Maine, and we actually planned to go to like a children's park or some open area or something like that. But at around 2 o'clock, we found that we could actually see it from our balcony, because there was no trees, no obstacle, nothing like that. So we had some, barbecues and stuff prepared. We just brought everything to the balcony, stayed there, and was totality from there. It was great. It was a very unique experience for my kids, my 4-year-old daughter and 5-year-old son. It was their first time, of course. And then, like, it was dark at the middle of the day. It was their nap time. And we were talking like, hey guys, it's time for a nap and stuff. And suddenly it's dark now. And they were very confused about that, right? And then, yeah, we had glasses and everything covered for safety reasons. And then they had a great experience. Pretty sure, like, long after I'm gone or not gone or anything, they are old, and then they will think back of that experience and like remember that this is going to be very unforgettable for them. So we had a great time observing the eclipse.
Awesome. Yeah. So I drove my family from Seattle area, and we were going to go to Dallas, but then the cloud forecast made it seem like, well, maybe Texas is not the best place to go. So when we were in Denver, I changed my plans, and we ended up going to southeastern Missouri, Poplar Bluff, Missouri, and we were able to see it there. It was wonderful.
Awesome.
My 4-year-old was looking through his eclipse glasses, and he thought, like, during the partial phase of the eclipse,
Yeah.
he thought he was seeing the moon,
Yeah.
not the sun. He's like, "Hey, it's a cheese moon." I don't know why he was saying that,
Cheese moon.
but yeah, maybe a
Yeah.
little more yellow than normal,
Yeah.
but it's the sun. I kept telling him anyway.
Yeah.
But
That's
I think like he'll remember that. Yeah,
yes,
my
definitely.
2-year-old's not. He probably won't remember anything,
Yeah,
but I'm
definitely.
I'm glad I was able to show them, because the next one in the U.S. will be when they're adults already. So
Yes, yeah,
mhm.
yeah. There's one in 2 years now. I'm planning something, but we'll see. But it's like you'll be able to see that from Europe, parts of Europe. So
Mhm.
we'll see about that.
I think Jeff was in Texas for the eclipse.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. I was in Fredericksburg, Texas, and we fought some patchy clouds, but we still saw some partial and saw some totality.
Awesome.
Yeah, our office was almost empty that day, especially at the like afternoon time. And everyone from our data team, after lunchtime, everyone went home or wherever they wanted to go, and then was totality. It was quite unique, quite good.
Thanks, Viraj. Any final thoughts, maybe about the future of data science and what things look like in the next few years, either for you or for the field in general, and anyone
Uh,
else wanting to
yeah,
transition from astronomy to data science?
yeah, definitely. The way I see it, the field is so rapidly evolving that it's even hard to predict about the next year right now. When I was applying for the jobs last year, I could, like, in maybe like 5% of the jobs I could, or 10% of the jobs I could say like generative AI, LLM related requirements, but mostly machine learning, deep learning sometimes, A/B testing and those kind of things. So now I help other people who are trying to make this transition. I mentor them in ADP list, by the way. Yes, so if anyone is listening to this podcast, they want to connect and talk, like listen about my experience or talk with me about stuff, how to make transition and stuff. I mentor there. It's free. I do it during my lunch hours so that I'm not impacting my like work or anything like that. And then it's a great way to get connected and learn how to make this transition. And then when I'm mentoring them, I sometimes like they ask me, where do you look for jobs? And then I show them, yeah, here, Glassdoor, there's LinkedIn, there's all kind of these ZipRecruiter and stuff like that. And when I'm looking through the jobs with them and I see so much like difference just in a year since I started applying in the requirements, and they are asking more and more. We just hired a data scientist here, and our requirements were much higher than when I got hired here last time, because that's the human nature. We want more and more. It's like, and people are struggling. They are trying to get all kinds of courses wrapped in, do all kinds of projects to show like how to show the variety in their portfolio and stuff. And then we end up with someone, or the companies end up with someone who has all that kind of skills. So my suggestion to someone who is trying to make this transition, well, the number one suggestion, topmost, is first get connected with someone who has made this transition before. Okay, either from astronomy, that's the best option, or physics or chemistry or whichever, and talk about what are the skills they need to build, a new kind of skills that they all don't already have, so that they can make this transition very smooth process. Someone told me like, this was so easy for you when you did it, you got it under 2 months, but it was easy for me because I started preparing 6 years ago, and it needs preparing way advanced in time. Like, don't wait until like your contract is about over. If your contract is over next month and you start thinking like, okay, now I'll start looking for jobs, chances are you're not going to get any, because just in a year, when I compare with when I was starting, and then what our requirements for the job was, we got over 2,000 applications for one junior data scientist position. And a lot of them are really, really good. So you have to start to prepare. You will be competing with these guys in X number of months or number of years. So you have to start really early. So connect with those guys who are already in the field, came from the same background as yours, and then start talking, ask for suggestions, what kind of modeling they should learn, what kind of other kind of skills, soft skills, how they should take, how they should do networking, because networking takes time. It doesn't happen just in a few months. It takes a lot of time to build a network around. And networking does not mean just sending a LinkedIn connection and then forgetting about it. Yeah, follow up, writing posts regularly, commenting on people's, because that's what gets you exposure to the recruiters and hiring managers. Once you move into the industry, then I think it's easier. Okay, it's not like easy, but you know the field after that, and after like working for a few months, like how it works in the industries, and you belong there after that, and it's easier, instead of like someone from completely different landscapes, different background, and trying to make this transition. So it takes time. It will take time. So start early, and don't assume that because you have a PhD or a postdoc, they will give you a job, because they won't. They won't care about how many publications you have, or unless it's a very research specific role that requires the same skill set that you had when you published those papers, then it counts. Otherwise, if you are applying in a retail, or you are applying like a logistics business or somewhere like that, they want to know that whether or not you are capable to do the role that is advertised for that position. That's what they care about. And now, If you don't have that, and just mention, I have this many citations on some thermonuclear stuff I did, it doesn't mean anything to the recruiter, honestly. So you have to understand that reality. It took some time for me to understand that, because this is the amazing job that I have done, amazing work. I published it. I have over 500 citations and stuff like that. That's amazing for me. That's not going to be amazing for the recruiter or the hiring manager who is, trying to get someone to do that particular X work. Do you know X? That's what they care about. Okay. So starting early is the key. And depending on where you want to go, like writing position, analyst, or data scientist, or there are like research assistant positions also, all kinds of different positions, figuring out that where you want to go. Some people like mid-sized companies, some people small-sized companies, sometimes big-sized companies. Where do you want to go? And building a portfolio of your projects that are relevant to the role that you are applying for. If it's a data scientist role, have a portfolio that has some of the machine learning works, some of the deep learning works, and stuff like that. Doesn't have to be, if it's exactly what the role is asking for, that's awesome. Okay. If it's not, that's not bad. As long as you can explain it to them and like make a connection how that is going to help you do that particular job. That's totally fine. That's what I did. Okay. So building a portfolio, making networking and everything. And then at a point you start making the resume, get help, reach out to people, as I did, who have done this transition before, and take their suggestions because they know the industry, and then start applying after that. So it takes time, it takes perseverance, won't happen overnight. Start early. That's what I will say.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us on this episode of the Astronomers Turned Data Scientist podcast.
Thank you. I thought I would mess up something, but I think I did pretty good.
You did amazing. Yeah.
It was great. It was great.
But yeah, that's so good. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Please subscribe to our channel so that you can find out when we release future episodes.
And thank you again, Riwaj. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.